Today I'm reacting to your Madison Square Garden Monday Night Raw Hot Takes. Hot Takes is a weekly video series where I give you all a platform to be able to voice your thoughts, whether they're good thoughts, bad thoughts, or everything in between about the world of professional wrestling. So if you'd like to be featured in the next episode of Hot Takes, make sure that you follow me on X because I ask for your hot takes there after every episode of Raw, SmackDown, and every single WWE Premium Live event. And if you're looking for my 30-minute review of this particular episode of Monday Night Raw, it's already up and available with footage over on the Patreon, patreon.com/SantiZab. We use footage so that you could see exactly what it is that I'm talking about, and unfortunately we can't show that here because it would just get blocked due to copyright. That's patreon.com/SantiZab. Link in the description, link in the pinned comment. We also upload so much more content over there. Go check it out. As always, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know that you're going to fall in love with this YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. By the way, shout out to everybody that's bought a shirt over at santizab.store. Go check it out. Go get yourself a shirt. Let's get to the video. It's crazy that Rhea Ripley had a great promo backstage post-show last week where she blamed herself, and tonight she completely shifted it this week by blaming Bianca. I know it does feel like a character regression because it very much is, but I also feel like it's a necessary character regression for Rhea Ripley because out of all three women in this match, if there is one that's going to play the role of the heel, it probably should be Rhea Ripley. I feel like she's the best equipped to be the heel going into this match because Bianca Belair is so beloved. Iyo Sky is seen like the underdog and no one's ever going to believe her as the big bad heel out of this trio. That leaves us with Odd Mommy O, Rhea Ripley, who I think is the best suited to be the heel in this matchup, and I feel like that's what we're getting out of Rhea Ripley because you're right, it is a very heelish thing to blame someone else for your own misdoings, and on top of that, if this is the way that she's going to get herself into this triple threat match by whining and complaining that somebody else cost her to lose, that's not very becoming of a babyface. I feel like we're seeing the first domino falling into a Rhea Ripley heel turn so that she can be the big bad heel of this triple threat match. But I will agree, it feels out of place, especially after that awesome post-match. But I won't lie, it does feel like a weird juxtaposition to have this Rhea Ripley off the back of the fantastic, emotional, blaming yourself promo that they did after the show ended. So yeah, it's a little bit weird. They should have probably just fully leaned into her blaming Bianca Belair right off the onset. Cody's promos on Cena have been cooking and he's getting a lot of unnecessary hate. He deserves credit for carrying the storyline alone right now. Okay, this isn't like a Drew McIntyre carrying months worth of storytelling without CM Punk there. We are talking about a single week. Let's not put all of this praise on Cody Rhodes for carrying a feud. This feud is not being carried by Cody Rhodes. This feud is being carried by the John Cena heel turn, which is a moment in time in professional wrestling that gives us plenty of runway to work with. I'm going to be honest with you. I actually think that they're overexposing Cody Rhodes. I felt like the promo on SmackDown, that was brilliant, but I felt like the promo on Raw was almost entirely unnecessary. And in fact, was Cody Rhodes trying too hard to get the crowd to boo Cena. And in the process, we heard the legendary and very loud, "Let's go Cena, Cena sucks." And I know that sounds like, oh, look, some people have turned on Cena. Let's go Cena, Cena sucks. That's a pro Cena chant as far as I'm concerned. That is a through and through Cena chant. To me, this was an unforced error. Overexposing Cody Rhodes and having Cody try way too hard to show the people how bad John Cena is. Oh, he didn't come here. He felt like it wasn't necessary. And then he started doing the thing that he absolutely should not be doing, which is talking about how he's the one that's going to stop 17. It's like, brother, we all want to see John Cena win 17. This is not the narrative that Cody Rhodes should be going after, gatekeeping history in the 17. He should be trying to save the soul of John Cena, trying to get Cena to come back to the light, but trying to be the one to stop 17 is not the way to win the crowd over because people want Cena to win the 17. We should just want Cena to win it the right way, and Cody Rhodes should be angling for that. I thought this promo had its moments, like the "I'm the captain" line now. I thought that was great, but they should have just kept it at the SmackDown promo and made us wait for the eventual John Cena and Cody Rhodes face-off here when we get into the European tour. 4 insanely good storylines going on right now. Meanwhile, the Royal Rumble winners are feuding with A-Town Down Under and prefab. Charlotte and Jey are one of the worst pairs of Royal Rumble winners that we've had. First time that neither night of WrestleMania will be main evented by a Rumble winner. It sure feels that way. It is a steep hill to climb for especially Jey Uso and Gunther to be the night one main event, and Charlotte versus Tiffany Stratton, that is completely out the window. It is kind of crazy that all of the chamber storylines are so much significantly higher in terms of importance than both Royal Rumble winners. Having the Royal Rumble winners right now feuding with low mid-carders to me is insane. Charlotte can get away with it. It's Charlotte. That is a legendary figure. There's nothing that you can do to make Charlotte feel lesser than, because it's freaking Charlotte. Jey Uso, on the other hand, feuding with A-Town Down Under is criminal. This is a guy that you're trying to sell us as a main eventer. You're trying to sell us as a WrestleMania guy that could close the show, and you've done a piss poor job, and the ensemble cast that you've chosen of Alpha Academy and A-Town Down Under has done, unfortunately, Gunther and Jey Uso zero help in terms of getting this feud over.
You know what? I need a match.
Oh my God. Oh, yes. Oh my God. Humanity. Oh God. That is so high. Oh my. That's crazy. That's crazy. Folks, that was a sneak peek of this week's offerings of the Wrestling is Cool Match Club, available exclusively over on patreon.com/SantiZap. This week, we're looking at Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 40 with the Damian Priest cash-in. The insanity that was the Big Show versus Kane versus Raven at WrestleMania 17 in a hardcore match. Some weird backyard wrestling ladder match. I don't know, man. It's probably the weirdest thing that we've ever watched on Patreon. Kurt Angle versus Jeff Hardy in a steel cage match from TNA Lockdown 2012. And the insane fatal four-way match from NXT Heatwave 2024 between Trick Williams, Ethan Page, Javon Evans, and Shawn Spears. You're gonna get all of this and more, like the Raw reviews, the SmackDown reviews, the Undertaker watch-alongs that we're doing, the Royal Rumble watch-alongs, and more, all of which are exclusive to Patreon because, of course, we show footage and we can't show these videos here on YouTube because they would just get instantly blocked. So go check it out. It is an insane bang for your buck. Hundreds and hundreds of hours already available for you. Patreon.com/SantiZap. Link in the description, link in the pinned comment. If you're already supporting as a patron, thank you so much for your support. Now let's get you back to the wrestling video that you came for. Roman pulling Seth out of the cage was brilliant. Seth's only win over CM Punk is now because of, quote, help from Roman Reigns. Roman knew that would piss off Seth. This is a really good point. I wasn't really angling it from that perspective, that Seth Rollins still won the match but won't really be able to brag about it. So I feel like you've pointed out something very interesting. However, I don't think that this is going to be the crux or like the main crying point for Seth Rollins. I think it's just going to be he wants to kill CM Punk and he wants to kill Roman Reigns, and now Roman Reigns wants to kill CM Punk and wants to kill Seth Rollins, and now CM Punk wants to kill Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. There's a lot going on here, but what they did with this Roman Reigns interaction is that they made it so that all three of these guys have good enough legitimate reasons to want to tear each other's faces off at WrestleMania. It's not that it'll feel like it's a Roman and Seth with CM Punk just sort of feeling like a third wheel or anything like that. All three of these guys absolutely need to be in there in like a battle royale scenario. I thought it was executed brilliantly. I thought, although obvious that it was going to happen, it still landed exactly how it needed to land and set us up for a really exciting WrestleMania match that will most likely be the night one closer, purely just off of the great storyline that's in place and the star power and the very likely fantastic quality of the match that we're about to get. I think what's really cool specifically about this triple threat, unlike the Rhea Ripley, Iyo, and Bianca, is that I don't think we need the twirl your mustache evildoer classic heel in this match. I feel like all three of these guys can go as they are and just allow the fans, the individual fans, to decipher in their eyes who's the heel and who's the babyface. Because based on what happened on this episode of Monday Night Raw, you can make a strong argument that Roman is the returning valiant hero or the dastardly heel that took out two baby faces. And you can say that about Seth, and I'm sure there's going to be a moment in the lead up that you can create a that was a heel CM Punk moment. But I feel like it's just going to be just gray, and it's up to you, the fan, to add color to the situation and determine who's the good guy, who's the bad guy in your own individual eyes. And to me, that is a special rare air to be able to breathe. As a CM Punk fan, I want him to get his WrestleMania main event. As a WWE fan in a stacked 2025, it doesn't feel right that a match without title implications will likely main event night one. I'm not particularly upset about that. I mean, if you look at last year's night one main event, that wasn't for the title. It had some title implications, sure, because it would determine whether it was going to be bloodline rules or not. But for example, Kevin Owens versus Austin, that wasn't for any title whatsoever. We had a tag team main event a couple of years ago. I really am of the mind, if the storyline warrants it, if the star power and the likely match quality is there, then I'm okay with it. I feel like they should do the best available match in terms of star power, and storyline should be one of the Mania main events if it's got better storyline and star power than any one of the titles involved. And listen, like, I do kind of get where you're coming from, but WWE did this to themselves by doing such a piss poor job of booking and building up to Jey Uso versus Gunther. Like, that match has no business main eventing over the likes of this triple threat match, over the women's triple threat match. Hell, Naomi versus Jade has a better storyline going on right now than that World Heavyweight Championship match, and it deserves to main event night one over Jey Uso and Gunther right now. Unsurprised, but the crowd cooked, especially the way they welcomed Iyo Sky and the way they hyped her up when she slapped Rhea and Bianca. If it was another crowd, that segment would make her lose aura and importance for WrestleMania. Glad that it boosted her instead. This is honestly a great thing to shout out. The crowd made that moment for Iyo Sky. The moment itself was really well executed, but the crowd took that moment and made it special, and in my opinion, made a star out of Iyo Sky. Boom, just like that. That crowd was hot all night. They were loud for the main event. They were loud for Cody Rhodes, loud for El Chatador, but the loudest that they were all night was for Iyo Sky slapping the shit out of Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair. And that to me made me so happy, because it elevated Iyo Sky in a way that she needed to be elevated, because the moment kind of played on our expectations that we thought that Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair were just sort of going to be the stars of the story, and that Iyo Sky was just sort of going to be third wheel getting little broed. And they played to that, and they allowed Iyo to be able to come out of that as a star. So it was incredibly well executed by the ladies, and the crowd absolutely made that moment special. I'm trying really hard to get excited with Jey Uso versus Gunther, but they are making it really hard to do so when they're feuding against Alpha Academy and A-Town Down Under. Even harder of the fact that Jey has shown no in-ring progress during his match against Grayson. Thoughts? Yeah, the match against Grayson Waller felt like such a weak way to start such an important Monday Night Raw on this road to WrestleMania in Madison Square Garden before WWE hits the road in Europe. It just felt like it fell flat. It wasn't a very good match. It also just doesn't feel like a match indicative of the Royal Rumble winner that eliminated John Cena and won the most stacked men's Royal Rumble of all time. This is not where Jey Uso should be in this build up to WrestleMania. I can take it or leave it as to whether or not Jey Uso has gotten better in the ring. I feel like Jey Uso is Jey Uso. You either like his matches or you don't. I'm okay with them. It's not like I love them or hate them either which way. But the problem is the lack of progression, specifically for Gunther and Jey Uso, and the fact that they're both feuding with lower mid-carders absolutely doesn't help, especially when you could tap into better things. Like, you could tap into Jimmy Uso. You could have tapped into Sami Zayn, who has history and legacy with, of course, Gunther and absolutely with Jey Uso, and they're just sort of leaving that on the table for what? In return to make Jey Uso the hero that saves Alpha Academy? I'm sorry, nobody gives a shit about that. Like, we need to find something better within the next 30-something days to get us excited for Jey Uso versus Gunther, because right now it is sitting at pitifully low levels, kind of like Alberto Del Rio versus Edge, or Jack Swagger versus Alberto Del Rio at WrestleMania. Yeah, those are WrestleMania main event matches for World Heavyweight titles, by the way. It's starting to like sink to those levels. I want to be optimistic, and there is still enough time to do something of worth and of meaning with this feud, and I want to believe that WWE will salvage it. But right now, this feud's struggling, brother. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like Roman versus Seth versus Punk needs a world title. Disagree, but it would be cool if it had a world title in it. It would be cool if, say, Seth Rollins was walking in as World Heavyweight Champion, or CM Punk. Oh my God, would that ever elevate the World Heavyweight title to feeling as important as the Undisputed if three of the biggest names in the industry were gunning for it, but instead it's Jey Uso and Gunther, and it's definitely making the title feel like a secondary B-tier title. Here's what I'll say. The feud does not need the championship. If anything, the championship could have used the feud. Jey winning the Royal Rumble hasn't proved to be the right decision yet. Every week, the segments are the same. Why is Alpha Academy involved? It'll be great to see him have his moment at WrestleMania, but right now, I'd much rather see Gunther in a different feud heading into Mania. Yeah, there are a lot of shoulda, woulda, couldas. I'd rather this, I'd rather that. This is what we have. And now we just need to try and make the best of this situation. And unfortunately, as I've already stated, WWE isn't really doing a great job at helping us make the most out of this situation. There is still lifelines that can be thrown to this feud. As I mentioned, the insertion of Sami Zayn or Jimmy Uso. Like, imagine a world where instead of causing all of these weeks of torment physically on Jey Uso, what if he tormented Jey Uso's closest friends, you know, and the ones that we can buy, like Jimmy and Sammy, but like torturing Alpha Academy, like who gives a shit? I am hyped for Roman Rollins Punk Mania match, but is it too much still to ask to want Roman and Rollins in a one-on-one WrestleMania match sometime before it's all said and done for them? Also, I still want each pair to have their own feuds with each other, like a true blow-off match between Punk and Rollins. Yeah, I mean, like all of this is still on the table. Like Roman and Seth Rollins are still late 30s. They still probably have a good chunk of WrestleManias left in their careers, and I absolutely see a WrestleMania match somewhere down the line between Roman and Seth Rollins. I'm with you. I want that match so that we can say that we actually got that match at WrestleMania. I've used this example before, you know, the fact that we never got John Cena versus Edge or John Cena versus Randy Orton in a one-on-one environment at WrestleMania. It's something that always just not sat well with me, and I'm sure that this era of super fans of Roman and Seth Rollins would feel the same way if we never got that particular match at WrestleMania. Your other point that, you know, you want their individual feuds, you know, Punk versus Roman, Punk versus Rollins in their blow-off, that will probably happen once the smoke settles from WrestleMania as well. It's a long year, brother. For the second year in a row, Liv Morgan has been used to prop up another WrestleMania storyline. It's even more egregious because unlike last year, she's parked in a division with no active competitors. There are literally no main roster tag teams active right now. It feels like intentional sabotage. It sucks. It does suck if you're a Liv Morgan fan, and I've become a Liv Morgan fan. It's funny because at this point last year, I was seen as like a giant Liv Morgan hater, but Liv Morgan has absolutely stepped up her game where she is amongst the best, amongst the elite in the WWE, and I will agree with you. It sucks ass to see her in the position that she's in right now. I don't mind the fact that she's in the tag team division, but the tag team division is dead. You let go of one half of Unholy Union, so there's nothing there. You've got Piper Niven and Chelsea Green occasionally deciding to be a tag team. You've imploded the big three. All of the tag teams are down in NXT, like Sol Ruca and Zarya, or the Metaphor Girls. So like this women's tag team division is dead, and I hope that maybe they can make something out of it. Maybe an Asuka and a Kairi Sane can return to challenge for these titles, to at the very least give these titles a meaningful match with fantastic women working. But as of right now, it just sort of feels like they are holding the championship of a division that barely even freaking exists. They really looked at AJ Styles versus Braun Breaker and said, nah. Yeah, I've been laughing about this. Like that WWE has just entirely forgotten that AJ Styles versus Braun Breaker was a feud that they even started. I honestly think that WWE just wants Braun Breaker to be a babyface going into WrestleMania, and once the smoke from WrestleMania starts to dissipate, they want a big babyface Braun Breaker, and going up against AJ Styles wasn't going to give them that in time. So Finn Balor and the Judgment Day, I guess, is the next best call. And maybe, perhaps, this could be a blessing in disguise for Braun Breaker. Maybe this gives him a high-profile feud with somebody debuting, an Aleister Black, whoever ends up being the new member of the Judgment Day. That could be interesting and something, you know, of meaningful worth as a feud for Braun Breaker going into WrestleMania. But it does sting to have him lose this feud against a first ballot Hall of Famer in AJ Styles in return for a feud between AJ Styles and Logan Paul, which will be good, but I really was excited to see AJ versus Braun Breaker. We got, quote, "Let's go Cena, Cena sucks" chants back in 2025, and it's the heels fans chanting, quote, "Let's go Cena" now. I'm telling you though, man, hearing "Let's go Cena, Cena sucks" chants in the middle of a Cody Rhodes promo doesn't bode well for Cody Rhodes. That is a Cena chant. Whether you think it's positive or negative, it means all the attention is on Cena and not on Cody Rhodes. That's why I'm going to go back and say what I said earlier, that they should not be exposing or overexposing Cody Rhodes while John Cena waits to make his return. I still feel like that promo at Madison Square Garden from Cody Rhodes was almost entirely unnecessary. Even if it had its good moments, we should have just waited until the Brussels episode of Monday Night Raw. That masked man was not Chad Gable. It's so obvious. It is infuriating, honestly. It's anger-inducing to see how many people have been slandering the good name of Chad Gable, calling him this trespasser, calling him this masked like monster that just invaded Monday Night Raw and attacked a helpless Rey Mysterio. Like, that is not something that somebody from American Made would do. On top of that, if you notice, if you were actually paying attention, that masked perpetrator said, "Gracias." I've never heard of Chad Gable being able to speak Spanish. That to me is so clearly and obviously not Chad Gable, and he proved it when he was being interviewed by Kathy Kelly, and then the actual trespasser was seen being escorted away by the terrible security at Madison Square Garden. You need to be sued for libel and slander if you believe that that was Chad Gable. Honestly, get your fucking head checked if you thought that that was Chad Gable. I think the triple threat of Roman Reigns versus CM Punk versus Seth Rollins should be a #1 contender match for the winner to be added to the Cody versus Cena match. The triple threat needs some added stakes other than bragging rights. No, I'm just immediately going to say that. Immediately no. John Cena versus Cody Rhodes should remain a singles match. That should just not be touched. I get what you're wanting to do with that triple threat match between Roman, Seth, and Punk, but it doesn't need bragging rights because this match isn't for bragging rights. This match is a war. This match isn't about who's going to be the best man standing at the end of the day. No, this is just a match where these guys want to end each other. The war isn't about who is right. War is about who is left standing. That is all. That is it. It doesn't need the grandioseness of who's going to main event night 2. This is just a match where 3 guys want to end each other, and the story justifies it. The venue justifies it. We don't need something materialistic being added here to add to the drama or to the stakes of this match, because to me, they're already at an all-time high between these 3. Why do Finn versus Braun next week? Just announce it for Mania and build, because I don't think that Finn versus Braun was ever the match. I wouldn't be surprised if they're gearing for Dominic Mysterio versus Braun Breaker, or whoever the new member of the Judgment Day versus Braun Breaker. I never thought that Finn Balor was the one that's gonna be set up for this Braun Breaker match. Heck, maybe it'll be Finn Balor versus Dominic Mysterio. Maybe he'll get kicked out of the Judgment Day. But look, they're gonna be doing big matches in this European tour because they know that they've got themselves a really, really hot crowd, and Finn Balor versus Braun Breaker kind of fits the mold. Although I'm happy with the 2 3-way matches, I feel like there needs to be a heel turn in one of them. Babyface versus babyface versus babyface twice is just weird. I think based on the crowd reaction, it'll be Seth who turns, and I don't know who for the women match, to be honest, because they're all over as shit. So I think the only one that needs an actual heel turn is the women. I've already talked about that. I feel like the one that best fits the mold is going to be Rhea Ripley, but I'm going to reiterate one more time for the men's triple threat between Roman, Punk, and Seth. I don't think that there needs to be a very obvious outward heel turn. I think that they can both be justified as heels and baby faces, depending on who you ask. If you're a fan of Punk, then Punk is the baby face, and all the other guys are the heels that just don't want to allow CM Punk to flourish. If you're a Roman fan, you could absolutely make the argument that Seth Rollins is the heel and that Punk is the piece of trash trying to steal my tribal chief's wise man, etc., etc. I think it's just going to be in the eye of the beholder. A finisher means a finisher. So many finishers in the main event. I thought it was a 2K stream. When will finishers ever be as meaningful as they once were? Amazing main event, but still too many finishers. Yeah, look, I'm somebody that's a sucker for Finisher Fest. I like Finisher Fest. I like when the finishers get sold, sure. And I do believe too that they, even though this was a Finisher Fest where they were kicking out of finishers, it's not as if they were kicking out at 1 and like hulking up or anything like that. It just was being sold to a 2.999 count. But the story and the feud and the hatred that was fueling these guys, I think allowed for justified insane kickouts. But if this is not the style of wrestling that you like, the Finisher Fest, this match was absolutely just not your cup of tea. I could see that. I'm personally fine with all the finishers. I know several people that were not, but hey, to each his own. Roman getting involved in the match is a perfect example of, quote, predictable doesn't always mean bad. I agree. How many times on this channel have I said 2 + 2 should just be allowed to equal 4 sometimes? sometimes. You don't need to overthink things. If the thing that makes sense, that would create an awesome scenario, even if it is the most obvious thing ever, if it is right there, just do it. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't try to do a swerve for the sake of a swerve. Roman interfering in this match was the most obvious thing ever, and when it happened, even if it was obvious, even if it was telegraphed by the crowd in the arena who started cheering like 5 minutes before Roman actually got to the ring, it was still fantastic. Living in Belgium finally had its use. We get to be the first crowd in history to see John Cena after his heel turn. I hope that we get something out of heel John Cena in this episode. I hope that it's not just him being quiet and saying nothing. I hope that we get the full reveal of what heel John Cena looks like. I want to see what his attire is. I want to see what his entrance theme is. I want to know his motivations, his thoughts, his cadence of his promos. I want to know what this mysterious looming figure of heel John Cena looks like. I hope that they don't keep him away from us as this thing like, I'll come back next week to see what heel John Cena truly looks and sounds like. Punk is like on his HBK run. Man's had a great career before, then had to take a pause, and then return to have another classic run of a lifetime. I didn't honestly connect those dots. You're kind of right. CM Punk is on an insane run. Also on an insane run of match stipulations. Man had a strap match, Hell in a Cell match, War Games match. He goes then to have a steel cage match. He's had an elimination chamber match. This man is making the rounds of everything that could be considered a stipulation now. But yeah, Punk is on a hell of a run. I don't know that it'll last as long as Shawn Michaels' second half of his career from 2002 to 2009. 7 years of more Punk like this, I think, might be asking a lot. But whatever time that we have Punk left for, I'm just grateful for it because he has been absolutely fantastic since returning to the WWE. And he was great when he was in AEW too. Will the SmackDown episode be taped or live on Netflix? On March 14th, in the United States, it makes sense for it to be taped because SmackDown is still under contract with the USA Network TV. For international audiences, my understanding is that it's still going to air live when it's airing in Europe. So like SmackDown Netflix should be on at like 2 p.m. for those that are outside of the United States. But I think Americans have to wait until 8 p.m. because, as you said, there's still that TV contract with the USA Network, and USA Network isn't going to shift it to 2 p.m. So get yourself international Netflix in some way, shape, or form for these next couple of weeks. All right, folks, thanks so much for watching this episode of Hot Takes. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Goodbye. Okay, get out of here.